Morning, members. Just gone 9 o'clock. We have attained the quorum. Let's invite the administration, the deputations and individuals into the chamber. Just like to put it to members that with the small number of, or not large number of deputations, 20 in total, attending today's meeting, we should have sufficient time. If members don't have any contra views, I would like to scrutinize the notices as well, and that way we can do away with the meeting on Tuesday. Right? Shall we proceed like that? Shall we invite the deputations in, please?
Good
morning. This is the Subcommittee on Minimum Wage Ordinance Amendment of Sch.3 Notice 2012 and Employment Ordinance Amendment of 9th Schedule Notice 2012. Item number 1, meeting with deputations and the administration. I'd like to, first of all, welcome 20 deputations and individuals who have signed up to speak on the 2 notices. Later on, I'll be inviting all the deputations and individuals to take it in turn to voice their comments. Prior to that, I'd just like to add a reminder that please clip on the microphone placed on the table, and for better clarity you might wish to don the earpiece. 0 for the floor, channel 1 for Cantonese, and channel number 2 for English. And also, by way of reminder, when you speak, you will not be protected by Cap 382, the Electrical Powers and Privileges Ordinance. There will be no protection there. Likewise, your submissions will not enjoy any protection under the ordinance. Deputations and individuals are welcome to submit their representations after the meeting. I'll be inviting all of you to speak. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After hearing the deputations, I'll be inviting members to put questions, and then followed by replies from the administration. We have with us from the administration Ms. Mabel Lee, Assistant Commissioner for Labour Development, Mr. William Mack, Chief Labour Officer, Statutory Minimum Wage, Labour Department, and Secretary of Minimum Wage Commission, Ms. Cecilia Lam, Senior Economist, Statutory Minimum Wage, Economic Analysis and Business Facilitation Unit, FSO. Right, without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Wu Lun, Chairman, members. We object to the adjustment of the minimum wage to $30. The idea of minimum wage is to set a wage floor, but I don't think we should be overly aggressive. We have to bear in mind our competitiveness and the difficulties encountered by the employers. According to government statistics, without the rippling effect, 30% of the employers in the catering trade will be affected. In the light of previous experience, we have the vertical and horizontal rippling effect. 50% of the pay will have to be adjusted upwards, and this is bringing pressure to bear on us. The pay will rise by 1.5%. According to the administration, at least 50% of the people will enjoy pay rise, 60% by 7% at least. And that's not taking into account the low-paying jobs because of the rippling effect of poaching for staff. The wage bill will go up by 4%. That's more like the situation. And given the fee spiral, the insurance, the management, transportation, accounting, all these fees will go up. Not only are we suffering, the members of the public are suffering along with us. Recently, the catering trade has been struggling to stay afloat. A lot of traders don't really want to carry on because of the spiraling operating costs. Now, we are going to put up the statutory minimum wage every 2 years, and we are operating a Chinese restaurant. Half of the overhead would go to the staff cost, and we are bearing a brunt. Last year, Hong Kong's economy has hit a downturn. This year, the government will not give any cash handout of $6,000. The catering trade would find it very difficult to absorb this increase. We are concerned that the downside of this increase will emerge gradually, and the workers may be pleased about it in the short term, but they will stand to lose more than they gain, and the market will be very lopsided. There is less of a chance of upward mobility, and this is not a healthy situation. I hope that you will think twice about it. Thank you. Moving on next to Mr. Kelvin Yao, Institution of Dining Art. Chairman, with regard to this 2012 minimum wage ordinance amendment notice, we represent 2,000 caterers. I would like to object to this, and we would like to state the impact on us. In 2011, with the introduction of SMW, the rippling effect is beginning to emerge. The senior management staff cost with the effect of SMW has increased. The catering trade employs a lot of people. Now, the costs for other items are also increasing. We don't have any further room to raise the staff pay. Now, if this happens, a lot of the low-pay workers will switch jobs, and we will be losing a lot of trained staff. It will be very difficult for us to retain the staff like waiters, cleaners, and dishwashers, and we're suffering from a wastage. We have a jobless rate of 3%. We have 3.6 million in the workforce, and all the working people are in employment. Now, this SMW may not be of any help. We urge the administration to resolve this labor shortage in the catering trade. The labor force is suffering from mismatch in the catering industry. We urge the administration to consider importing low-skilled labor from outside of Hong Kong to make up for the shortfall. Now, we have polled 2,000 caterers. All of them feel that the importation of labor will help resolve this labor shortage in the catering trade. SMW will push up inflation, triggering a vicious circle. if we put up the SMW, then the restaurants will put up their prices, and all the costs will be passed on to the consumer, and this would compound inflation as a result. Furthermore, the grassroots workers will not enjoy any benefits as a result, and the increase will not be able to offset the rise in inflation. The SMEs will have to be bearing the social responsibility to look after these grassroots people, and it's not fair to them. Given the fact that the economy has not come back, the SMEs should be assisted, and we should not be put under further pressure. And the minimum wage is the wage floor, and it should not be linked to livelihood. The wages should be adjusted according to the market forces. Otherwise, the employers will be thrown out of a job and they have to close, and this will not help the economy at all. All right, Mr. Wong Kwai Sang, thank you. On the 19th of last month, Dr. Fernando Cheung put a question. I'm grateful to him for that. I'm working for the Jockey Club. I'm working for the night shift there. Mr. Zhang Tak Sing talked about the raising season. Now this week, something happened. We didn't have many people turning up for work. In 2004, we approached Ms. Chen Yunhan. Mr. Akali gave us the contract. Now we have about 200. Well, Mr. Wong, will you speak to the subject of minimum wage? Well, we have 3,000 people working during the raising season. Now we're down to 300. But how much more work can I cope single-handedly? We're running short of manpower. Now we are being very nice to the jockeys. Why are you treating the workers like this? By 4:30, we're down to about 100 people, and many people left their job on sick leave, and we were stuck with the job, and we're working flat out to handle the situation. I hope that you would help us cope with the manpower shortage. Now we have so many people calling through at night, and they cannot log on the web, and there are no, of course, betting centers in the middle of the night, and the only thing they can do to place bets would be to call our number. It would be very difficult for us to cope with a few hundred people. The allowances have not been increased. Typhoon allowance, $100 for 8 hours. Well, Mr. Wong, if you would like to complain about the Jockey Club, we have the complaints division just downstairs, and you may wish to approach the two members that you mentioned direct. That would be more helpful, because this subcommittee is not handling these kind of complaints. Well, I'm just talking about the staffing ratio. Now, if they're squeezing the workers, that would be detrimental to our occupational health. We have these pamphlets about OSH. I have to handle all these calls that are ringing off the hook. I can't even breathe at work. How can I cope? I have to consult a psychiatrist. I'm suffering from a tinnitus, and I mean, it's very difficult for me to cope with the job. I'm not paying for this with my life.
I'm Mr. Tam Hap Singh. Thank you, Chairman. The catering industry has been experiencing a difficult time in our operation. And people were saying that we're trying to panic people. But now when we look at the situation right now, the food material costs like beef costs and rentals are rising. And if SMW is going to be raised again, all these will pose a lot of difficulties to our operation. They said that SMW is going to be raised to an acceptable level. But then after the SMW has been implemented and coupled with the rippling effects, SMW has caused a manpower shortage in the catering industry. We have interviewed a number of operators, and a 20% shortfall in manpower is so very common, and this affects directly our operation. So these are figures which are really can't be quantified. Now we have to spend extra efforts in recruiting manpower, and it involves huge administrative costs, and we have to provide training to them, and then we have to involve management costs. All these are indirect costs which have to be taken into account as well. If we add up all these costs, then the SMW is posing a great impact on the catering industry. So I hope the administration will pay attention to that. So the community is saying that $2 is not that big an amount, but we should not take the number at its surface, because we have to take into account the rising food material costs, fuel and rental costs, and all these add up to a very enormous amount. So all these have to be taken into account. Now, on the manpower shortage, we are facing a lot of difficulties because of that. And a lot of our staff have to work overtime, and they have to work long hours just because we don't have enough manpower. It's not that we are trying to force them to work overtime. It's works have to be done properly. And so the workers have to work extra long hours. So we aren't even able to operate in a normal manner. And then you are talking about a rise in SMW. And that poses even greater difficulties for our operation. So please pay attention to our needs in this regard. Mr. Peter Shiu. Well, it's common for workers to ask for a pay rise, especially the low-income workers. They want to raise their living standard, and I think the community would like to help them. Now, with the SMW in place, the living conditions have improved. According to the MWC report in 2012, among the 5 sectors surveyed, the lowest paying sectors have the rise pay increased by 17.7% and 12.5% respectively. And I think the SMW has achieved its desired results. But we should not neglect another fact, and the inflation rate and the pay rise are interlinked. Since the SMW was implemented in May last year, the overall inflation rate has risen to 5.3%, and it was the highest since the financial tsunami in 1998. Now, looking at the CPI, now since the implementation of the SMW, it has risen from 105.3 to 112.8. Now, if you go to a Chinese Hong Kong style tea restaurant, a dish of rice will cost for some $40 compared to $20-$30 in the past year. Now, if the SMW is to be raised to $30, that represents a rise of 7.1%. So inflation rate is going to rise correspondingly, and management fee as well. So apart from the grassroots workers who are going to benefit, but on the contrary, the middle class is shouldering heavier burden. So if SMW is to be raised, we have to strike a balance among the interests of the different sectors. Mr. Dominic Lee, next. A lot of people say that the post-80s and post-90s generation are a very useless generation, so-called. But we are facing a different environment in that the industries are moving northwards and the social mobility is very low. And before the implementation of the SMW, our poor students, upon our graduation, we can join big firms at a low salary. And can we start from there, and then we can climb the ladder through our hard work and rise step by step. But after the implementation of the SMW, the low-educated people, we don't have chances to rise in the social ladder anymore. But for those who are in the poor families, they can join at a minimum wage. We just don't want to earn two meals, and we don't want to lead an undignified life. We just want to, through our hard work, to realize our dream and develop a career. Why are you, Mr. Lee Chuk-yan, depriving us of this opportunity? We don't just want a job, a dignified job, which want to move the social ladder as well. Now, since the SMW was implemented in May 2011, because the economic boom, it seems to have cover up the adverse impact of the SMW. But haven't you noticed that the unemployment rate of young people is 7 to 9%, double of the average unemployment rate in general? If the economy takes a downturn, then the young people will be the first to be hit. We don't want to live on social CSSA, and we don't want to be looked upon by other people in the society. SMW helps the low-income people, but why are you still wanting to raise SMW? Are you trying to deprive the young people of our opportunity to rise up in the social ladder? Mr. Kwok Chung Man, next, please. The Gazette notice, can it be amended? I just want to clarify this. We can just have three choices: support, veto, or abstain. Is that right? If we support the notice, then we are in effect supporting the MWC's proposal of increasing the SMW from $28 to $30, i.e. 7.1%, or a yearly rise of 3.4%. And that's definitely lower than the rise in food material costs, because food material costs is rising above 10% per year. Those who are on minimum wage are the underprivileged group, and they can't even catch up with the rise in minimum wage, can't even catch up with the rise in food costs. What are we going to do about this? So I'm here to persuade you not to support this $2 increase. The rise should be much higher. Well, there are, of course, many reasons for objecting to the increase, and inflation rate is at a very high level, and we can't. Some people can't make their ends meet. Now, if the notice is going to be objected and vetoed down, in the end, I think well, we can take the responsibility for that. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Ms. Wu, Ms. Luk Kam-shing, if the SMW is going to be increased from $28 to $38, is it enough? The leaflets that I have on my hand are the menus from restaurants on the streets. With $30, I can't even afford one meal in these leaflets. a Hong Kong worker sweats and works hard for 1 hour, and he or she can't even afford one meal. Isn't that very tragic? Grassroots workers are not asking for a lot. We work so hard, and we just want to be able to feed ourselves. That's not too much a demand. If we can't afford one meal, how can we provide a living for our family? Well, $30 per hour is really an insult. The business sector's objection to the rise in SMW, their reason is that their operation is getting more difficult. What is the difficulty? It's just earning less. Should the SMW be $30 or $35? Well, it's just a matter of the business sector earning less. I think the administration should really weigh up the pros and cons. A father in a family earns just a few $1,000s, and he pays that is used up to pay for the rental, and then the mother earns a few $1,000s, and she has to provide for various living expenses like meals, tuition fees for the children, and so on. And they don't even have enough to buy food to feed themselves. And would you find the problem a big problem if they just come to seek and beg for your help in the government house? Well, the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. And I don't imagine that this old poem of China will become really a reality in the modern day of Hong Kong in 2013. Don't you find that ridiculous? If SMW is not going to be raised from $28 to $35, the wealth gap is going to widen, and the society will be getting more divided. And the business sector is earning more and more, and the poorer will find it difficult to feed themselves, even though they are working hard. Mr. Poon Man Han, I just want to refute the reasons given by people objecting to the SMW. They are talking about citing reasons about inflation rate. I hope they can do more background research on what they are talking about. If you look at the CNSD's figures, actually half of the inflation rate comes from rising rental. If you look at newspaper reports yesterday in a Tsim Sha Tsui Hong Kong style tea cafe, the rental has risen by $130,000. So please do more research before you come up with your reasons. We are very disappointed about the rise to $30. The increase over 2 years is just 7.1%. It's much lower than the inflation rate and the average wage increase in the corresponding period. So in other words, the grassroots workers are not really having a pay rise, and they are in effect having a pay reduction. That's most ridiculous. Because the MW was first initiated to give a reasonable pay to the grassroots workers. Now the rise is really below the inflation rate, and that's very disappointing. If we compare ourselves with other places like the UK, you can see that the report in the UK says that the pay rise should be higher. The minimum wage pay rise should be higher than the average inflation rate and the average pay rise. From 1999 up to now, the UK is having an accumulative pay rise of 70%, and in the corresponding period, the inflation rate is only 30%, and the average pay rise 55%. So what they are doing now, what they are doing over there, is to make sure that the people's are having that on SMW are having real growth in their wages. So that's most ridiculous. I want to cite some remarks by Leung Chun-ying in 2010. We hope that the business sector can adopt a more linear approach, and so that the lives of the poor, the workers can be improved. Now he's elected, he's surrendered to the interest of the public sector, is not doing what he has undertaken to do. And I think the $30 doesn't address the problem of the working poor.
Mr. Lim Yong-ki, Chairman, thank you. I am from the post-80s generation. Maybe I don't come here in a suit. Maybe you see me differently. Now, these $30 minimum wage lags far behind inflation. Now, given the low wage and high prices, the grassroots people are still suffering. Now, these $30 may seem to be very generous, but it is not good enough to pay for a meal. Now, the $28 said previously was very disappointing, and people got only 5,000 odd per month. Even the cleaners are working for the government contract. They get $6,944. Would that be sufficient for them? The Liberal Party should try to live on $6,944 and try to live the life of the grassroots. Now, there are many people remunerated for $6,944, so they cannot really cope, and they end up signing on the dole. Now, they're able-bodied people, and they still have to sign on the dole. The minimum wage is there to protect the workers. There are many cleaners who enjoy a pay rise. But the problem lies with the fact that the level is too low. It's nowhere near enough. I'll share with you a case. There is a contracted cleaner who worked 5 jobs. He's a low-skilled worker, and he has to work 3 jobs as a cleaner, and he had to sacrifice the time with the children. They only be with the children on long holidays. It's better with the introduction of SMW. He's working 4 jobs, a day job, a night job, a holiday job. If the level was pitched at $33, would it be as bad as that? There are so many workers in Hong Kong who are like that. Because of the low level, they are really working very, very hard. Now, the $30 means that we get a pay rise of $1 each year, and it cannot catch up with inflation. I urge the CY Leung administration to bring up to $33. It cannot catch up with inflation at all. Inflation is rising on a yearly basis. The cleaning working union will be turfing you out if you cannot get the job done. We're prepared to use this broom to do so. Chairman, we feel that we feel that the wage level should be $30 and bring into effect on the 1st of May. Now it will go up from $28 to $30, a rise of $2 or 7.1%. The Democratic Party feels that this rise cannot offset the effect of inflation, and people are working under tremendous pressure. So the wage level should be no less than $33 and subject to review every year. Now, this $30 means that each year we get a 3.5% pay rise each year. According to CPI, a we have seen a rise of 4.2%. So this rise has been eaten into by inflation. If somebody is earning $30 per hour, working 8 hours a week, each month he's bringing home about $6,000. I mean, it would be very difficult for these grassroots workers. Some said that inflation would have an impact on the businesses, but rent rates, government rent, take up a large proportion of the overheads, a larger proportion, in fact, than the minimum wage. So a minimum wage is not a factor here at all. Mr. Matthew Chung, SLW, once said that an SMW is not subject to review every 2 years, or rather, it should be reviewed no less than twice a year, and there would be a review if necessary. And this is a very flexible approach. But over the past 2 years, we've seen escalating prices, accommodation and food and so on. People are suffering a great deal. So this may amount to an untruth for Mr. Matthew Chung to say that Korea, Japan, Taiwan, they're reviewing the SMW every year. Each time they put up the SMW to a level higher than inflation. So we have experience to learn from, to draw from in other jurisdictions. How come we cannot implement this? Why are you increasing this to a level lower than inflation? Before the implementation, many people were worried that there would be a negative effect, rising joblessness, retrenchment and so on. But the SMW Commission report shows that the impact is negligible. Jobless rate is at a low level. We have almost full employment. We haven't seen any reduction in recruitment, and we have seen more women and senior or middle-aged people. 4.2% rise for middle-aged, 3.9% for women. The low-skilled workers to median wage has also increased by 13.9%. So it goes to show that the SMW is pitched at the right level. The middle-aged people and the women can join the workforce, so we don't think that it should be any less than $33 and should be subject to review every year. Right, Mr. Yiu-chung. Right, the $28 is according to the 2009 figure. Now, the CPI-A over the years has increased by 13.2%. If this year, by the middle of this year, inflation will rise by 4% in 2013, middle part of, by comparison with 2009, the inflation will be 17.9% in cumulative fashion. So we have to increase the SMW to $33, and not to mention improving the livelihood of the grassroots workers. We have to address the problem of the wealth gap. This biannual adjustment is very difficult to catch up with inflation. Over the years, the CTU has been advocating for the SMW to be at a level not lower than inflation to ensure the basic livelihood. Now, we believe that in 2011 to 2012, if you take the minimum, the SCCSA divided by the number of people, each recipient would get 3,389. If you divide it by the number of workers, each one would have to support 1.9 people, including themselves. So if you multiply the payment with the transportation cost and the meal and so on, about $800, so that's the minimum. Each month the minimum wage should be $7,300. And this, if you take this minimum wage divided by 26 days or 8 hours a day, the minimum wage should be $35 per hour. So the $30 to be implemented in May is way lower than this particular level that we have arrived at. We believe that the SMW should be at par with inflation, i.e. $35. That would only then would it enable us to meet the daily expenses. We have to review the SMW per year. In many advanced jurisdictions, the US, the UK, former colonial master. New Zealand, the mainland, they have a review cycle of every year. Hong Kong is so advanced as a city. Why can we not do likewise? So I hope that you would consider recommending to the chief executive that the review cycle should be yearly. And when this is put to the vote, I hope that the chief executive will adjust the SMW to $35 per hour. Right, moving on next to Mr. Chen Kwok-Kwong. Chairman, I am on behalf of the Hong Kong Vehicle Transportation Association. Now, with the introduction of the SMW, the transportation workers, the drivers, have seen a pay reduction. Now, in the transportation sector, we are stuck in the vehicles. We can't really have any time for toilet. We can't really consume too much liquid. And many people would prefer a more comfortable job instead of working as a transportation worker. So, Chairman, in our trade, they are putting up the wages to $28 or more. I mean, even with the $50, I'm sure I bet it would be very difficult to hire any workers. Right, Mr. Leung Kwee Tang, Chairman, I'm on behalf of the Association of Restaurant Managers. In 2010, when the SMW was introduced, we have seen a pay rise of 12%. The low-paying job has also seen a pay rise, and this is very detrimental to our business. There is the rippling effect, and the wage bill is increasing. Now, the increase in wage cannot keep up with inflation. It is unfair to the university undergraduates, and they only enjoy a rise of 2 to 3%. Now, we are paying them very high at the low level, but the university graduates would suffer, but they only enjoy a pay rise of 2 to 3% instead. And these are the future pillars of our community, and this is wholly unfair, and there is a seething resentment among these people. Well, let's come back to Ms. Wu Shui-san. Chairman, many employers are moaning about their inability to hire any workers. Now, if the job is a difficult one, we have no rubric, we cannot do anything else, then you just try to suppress the wages of other jobs and make it so low that people don't really have that much of a choice, and they would take up this kind of job. Now, the university graduates are well educated, and they're not enjoying any reasonable and decent pay. And you're saying that you have to put up the wages for the grassroots, and that's why you cannot give any pay rise to the graduates. And I mean, when I was a kid, if I didn't know how to do my homework, should I tell the teacher that I have to make other students are not interested in their work, and then we should be failing in our studies, and we should drag other people into it. I think the employers are so naive in their thinkings, more naive than the primary kid. And they do need to have time with their family members. They do need to have money to pay for the meal. There are many construction workers, they're working, they're eating out for lunch. But I don't think it's a good idea to to gloat over other people's misfortune. We should be getting better together. I think it shows that the employers are merely looking at their own wallet, and they're blind to the health of the workers. They're blind to the daily necessities of the workers, and they're blind to the fact that the low wages are making life difficult for the workers. That the security workers, security guards that are working more than 10 hours a day, and this is social cost, and this is something that has to be paid for by the members of the public as a whole. Are we saying that the people of Hong Kong will have to subsidize the employers, and you're offering low wages and work people exceedingly hard, and this is making it impossible for us to have any sustainable development? People are working so hard that they're exhausted. I hope that the business sector would be more sensible. Thank you.
The deputations individuals have already expressed their opinions. Now we'll open the floor to members. 3 members would like to speak. Yes, please raise your hands. 3 have indicated the wish to speak. Okay, the order. Lee Chak-yin, Wong Kwok-hing, Kwok Wai-kang, Emily Lau, Poon Xiao-ping, Leung Yiu-chung. 5 minutes each, please. Lee Chak-yin is not here. Perhaps Mr. Wong Kwok-hing first. Thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank the deputations to come and express their views on the review timetable. If the review of SMW can be conducted once every year, then it would create less controversies. Now we are proposing biannual review. Then that is going to make the SMW level lagging behind, and it also makes that the salaries of workers will not be able to catch up. A rise once every year is reasonable. Then we'll be able to catch up with the inflation rate. But if a biannual review is conducted, it means that workers are going to be exploited. Now, I would like to direct my question first at the administration, this question, and then I'll ask deputations for their comments. Commissioner, please. Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your comments. As far as the statutory requirement is concerned, it says that a review should be conducted at least once every year, at least once every 2 years. The SMW has far-reaching impact on the society, and 15 deputations have expressed their opinions. Some said that there should not be an increase, and some said that there should be an increase. So the views are quite diverse. Well, in the last meeting, the Secretary has explained that the law requires that a review should be done at least once every 2 years. But then if there are drastic changes or there are unforeseen circumstances, we will not rule out that review will be undertaken in less than 2 years' time. If a review can be conducted once every year, and then it will follow the sort of inflation rate, then we would be able to avoid a lot of the disputes here. Thank you, Mr. Wong. If the SMW is just going to be adjusted according to the inflation rate, we have to think about that very carefully. In the MWC's report, the Commission said that it has taken into a basket of factors in considering the adjustment level. Now, if only the inflation rate is taken on board, will it lead to other problems? And would it be leading to the situation where SMW inflation rate will be sort of pushing each other up. So in the review, a basket of factors have to be taken on board. Well, for civil servants and the workers in general in Hong Kong, we have pay rise once every year. Shouldn't we be following this general trend? Why are the workers under SMW treated differently? Assistant Commissioner, I have to emphasize that SMW has far-reaching impacts on Hong Kong's competitiveness, labor market, the business, and so on and so forth, and involves a lot of different sectors. The SMW is a wage floor, and as for general pay rise is a matter of employment contract between the employer and the employee. The law says very clearly that a review will be done at least once every 2 years. You said that there will be far-reaching impact. I would say that those under SMW, well, the impact on them is very far-reaching. And I think the way you are doing it is not very fair to them, and it's unreasonable. It seems that you are not providing basic protection to them in their livelihood. Now, if the pay rise is determined according to the rising living costs, then we will avoid a lot of disputes between employers and employees. Mr. Lee Chek-yan. A lot of the employers' associations said that they are having difficulties in recruiting manpower because a lot of workers have turned to the sort of more comfortable jobs. Well, my stance is that if the work is more difficult, shouldn't the workers be paid more? But of course, I don't think the security workers are having a comfortable job. Now, in fact, in the security services industry, there is also manpower shortage, and this is something good actually, because it shows that the economy is turning for the better. A manpower shortage indicates that the business is good, and this is something that the employers should be happy about. So I don't quite see why you shouldn't be happy about that. Mr. Lee Chi-king, I don't know how to respond to you because I really don't understand what you're saying. And you said that the rich university graduates can join companies as interns, and the young people can also join, say, fast food chains like McDonald's. And McDonald's used to offer $20 per hour. And in fact, the pay of university graduates is definitely higher than the minimum wage. So I don't follow what you're saying. I don't know how to refute what you said. So my question for the administration is this. What is going to happen in the future? Because all the figures are really seriously lagging behind. The government says that some 300,000 people are covered under the SMW, and this year we have this new figure that of 200,000 people, and things are developing, and ultimately I would think that around 100,000 plus people will be covered. Now, it seems that the influence is getting less, and a lot of people are still going to continue to suffer. because of the lagging behind of the figures. So when are you going to resolve the problem about the wage and the figures lagging behind? Can't you think about doing a review once every year? And Mr. Matthew Zhang is just like Mr. C.Y. Leung is saying that reviews to be done at appropriate time. I don't know what you mean by appropriate. Say the figures from last year will be available in March this year, so that may be an appropriate time. So, well, as far as the figures and statistics are concerned, actually we are having figures which are lagging behind, so shouldn't we be undertaking the review immediately? Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your comments. Let me first clarify about the problem of lagging behind. The MDWC has explained clearly in its report that it has really considered the time lag between the proposal and the implementation of the new measures. So the MWC has really looked at the figures relating to various economic scenarios to address the problem of the figures lagging behind. Also, the government is doing an annual earnings and hours survey covering some 10,000 companies. That's done on an annual basis. And then the MWC has a basket of figures, and the figures are updated on a quarterly or even monthly basis. So we are looking at all these figures very closely, and if needed, we would be looking at whether a review will be undertaken or the review mechanism will be instituted. Now we will be getting the latest figures in March. So shouldn't be the administration be starting this review as soon as possible? Now, what the administration is doing is that it has all these figures, and it says that the MWC will undertake the review or study appropriately. So I think the figures are all supplied by the administration to the MWC. So what is really the administration's stance on this? Assistant Commissioner, please. Thank you, Mr. Lee, for your comments. The MWC has a basket of statistics. Well, I'm really asking you, what do you mean by when there is a need? When do you think that a need will arise? Assistant Commissioner, I would like to continue by saying that when there are drastic changes in the figures or statistics, we will look at whether there is a need to do a review. Mr. Lee Chi-king has raised his hand indicating the wish to speak, but this time we would be allocating the time to the members first. Yes. Mr. Kwok Wai-kang. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Wu Shei-san had made a very good point. The employers here are not here to really talk. Well, they're here just to talk with their wallets in mind, and they are proposing importing foreign workers. Can they recall that when the economy was at a downside, then the workers have tided over the difficulties with them? And now they are talking about importing workers. They just want to pull the salary down, and they just want to save up. A lot of employers said that there arises in food material costs, labor insurance, rental, and so on. And all these actually large amounts. They don't give you the figures on these items. They dare not tell us the absolute rises in these items, and they are here just to tell us that $2 increase is a big sum. I try to calculate a figure based on 8 to 9 hours. If you go to you work 8 to 9 hours and you work 26 days a month, and you are getting a pay rise of $460, and you will work 10 hours a day, and then you get a pay rise of $600 only. And that is just a rise of a period of 2 years, and that means an average rise of $200+ per year. That's very minimal, and employers don't even want to offer that increase, and they never thought about giving a pay rise of every year. Now the administration is really helping you, and they know very well that a pay rise once every 2 years is too little. Well, administration, you can see that the employers don't appreciate what you did. Please show something, do something for the employees. Now the employers are getting all the benefits in your proposal, the administration, but they don't appreciate it at all. They are asking even they are asking for they are proposing not an increase in 2 years. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Kwok.
Well, the administration appreciates that different organizations may have different views. As I said earlier, the legislation provides that there should be a review every 2 years, and administration will monitor the data, and if necessary, the cycle can be less than 2 years. Thank you. Mr. Kwok, I hope Ms. Mabel Lee from the Labour Department would remember this. Now, the legislation says that a review should be undertaken every 2 years, but it can be reviewed at a shorter time, so that's why we insist on every year instead of every 2 years. Also, the Liberal Party is represented by 2 members here. I'd like to find out from the Mr. Dominic Lee from the Liberal Party, Youth Committee of the Liberal Party. Now, you said that the SMW has affected the young people, and the young people have to do jobs at a lower level. Now, in the Youth Committee of the Liberal Party, how many of you are security guards and how many of you are dishwashers? I mean, you are really walking in nicely dressed, and we are working very, very hard. You're nicely dressed here. Well, the electrical members are earning $90,000. Are you working? Are you having a hard life? Well, the FTU members, they're all having a hard life. Well, there are many young people in the Youth Committee of the Liberal Party. Any dishwashers in your Youth Committee? Well, we have many members that don't know about their work profile. But I must protest against Mr. Lee Chek-yen, for giving these misleading arguments. I never mentioned internship. I'm talking about the first job people are trying to apply for. Mr. Lee Chek-yen said that he doesn't understand what I'm trying to talk about. Of course you don't. You're making so much money as an electrical member. But here, post-80s generation, how can you understand the plight of us? Let me explain to you, if you don't understand. Now, for those university graduates, if they want, they could work for large corporations with better prospect. They may be making $4,000 or $5,000. The first job, you are learning so much. You're being trained up in the first job. You spend the first 2 years learning the rope, and then you advance on the career path. And he has ignored all these situations. He's talking about McDonald's, $28 per hour. Are you suggesting that all young people should be working in McDonald's all their life? I'm not talking about this kind of job. I'm talking about jobs with a career prospect. Second, Mr. Lee Chek-yen talked about the linkage between the SMW and the CSSA. In fact, CSSA is linked to the basic livelihood. But our pay is based on productivity. It should be linked with our productivity. that if someone has to support 6 members, and I support a few members, if I'm smarter than him, should I get paid less than him? I think the pay should be linked to the productivity instead of anything else. Mr. Tommy Chung, he's otherwise engaged later, so he'd like to speak first ahead of other members. The floor is yours, please. Chairman, thank you very much for letting me jump the queue. I may go along with everything you said, but I would respect your point of view. There was a question about whether the Liberal Party has any members working as a dishwasher. I am not a member of the Youth Committee, but I was a dishwasher. I was a waiter. I am a senior member in the party. I'm sure that it would not be surprising that there are some members in the Youth Committee who are dishwashers or security guards. Now let me say something about the annual review. If you refer to the MWC reports, statistics, in fact, we're using the September 2011 figures for comparison. Now, with the introduction of SMW, how many people are affected? They said that they couldn't cover all the figures. They had to make comparison 4 months after the introduction. It would be very, very bad if we have annual cycle. I mean, it's bad enough for the 2-year cycle. Now we have to bear in mind that there are many statistics that they can be masked if we adopt a 1-year cycle. I'm not from the administration. I thought that I could cover more statistics. But in fact, in June, the report has to be submitted to the MWC, and I had to rush through the report. Well, it doesn't really matter, but I managed only to get the figures in March. I tried to make the comparison between May, June, and June, but I find it very difficult to do so. So there is a difference here. Mr. Yiu-chung made the point. In fact, the secretary talked about this coverage. All these figures are really alarming. I don't quite understand what Matthew Chung is talking about, just like Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan doesn't understand what Dominic Lee was talking about. He talked about the coverage. In that meeting, you remember, Chairman, I asked the administration about the statistics. He confirmed that for the catering trade, because of the SMW, 50% of the people enjoy a pay rise. We have 200,000 people in the catering trade, and everyone knows about it. The facts, the statistics are plain. All over Hong Kong, now we have 3 million workers. Is it true that the 200,000 workers in the catering trade will only get a pay rise? Now, Mr. Matthew Chung talked about the coverage rate. Now I have all the statistics on my web page. You might wish to have a look. That the wash dishes used to get paid $26. Now they're getting paid $31 odd with the introduction of SMW work. We are paying them almost on a daily basis. If you cannot hire the workers, we have to put up the pay. But does it mean that with this $2 rise in SMW, we just follow this by offering a $2 rise? Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan said that the coverage is getting smaller because a lot of the workers are getting paid more than the SMW, $30 or more. So this is not in the coverage. There are some jobs that are more comfortable. Of course, there are such jobs available, and they are also part of the rippling effect. Security guards, the watchmen, Chairman, previously people our age who cannot find a job would be working as a watchman for 12 hours and so on. But now we cannot find this kind of job because it is the younger generation who would take up security guard as their first job. So there are many who would otherwise be interested in becoming a security guard, those senior citizens. They cannot find a job these days as security guards. I don't think I would subscribe to the idea of an annual review at all. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, thank you. Thank you very much to all the deputations for being with us. The Democratic Party supports the idea of an annual review. I'm sure that the figures can be captured. We have deputations from the catering trade, and they have been complaining about this because of the impacts. Now we have some from the unions, some from the sector. Now we don't have the Secretary represented here today. At the last meeting, the Secretary said that SMW would be beneficial to the workers, and he also said that there is mismatch in terms of manpower in the community, and through retraining we can do something about it. And where necessary, labor can be imported into Hong Kong from outside. Now this is a highly provocative a remark to say to some of the sectors. Is there such a need? The catering sector would like to see this happen from the deputations. Let me put this to the unions in particular. How do you read these kind of arguments given the problems that they're encountering in the catering trade? Now we have to, a lot of people patronize these catering businesses. How can we deal with this problem? How can we make sure that people will be able to get a job and can make some money, and at the same time people will get a nice treatment when they patronize these businesses? Right? Which one is this question directed to? Well, whoever it is, how do they read the current situation in the catering trade? Would like to be nice to the workers? I mean, are they running out of workers? Would it be too expensive to hire the workers? They said that they have to keep putting up the wages to hire the right people, and the prices are going up as a result. All right, Ms. Wu Sui-san, Chairman. I think the employers will give you one stock answer, and that is a pay reduction. The manpower problem in the catering trade lies with the undesirable working condition. They work exceedingly long hours. For the young people, the government is encouraging childbirth, and they're working 12, 13 hours, and they can't even be dating at all. And many women would like to have a more flexible job, and they don't want to hold down a job like this. And some women would like to squeeze in a few hours while the kids at school to do some work, but they cannot in this kind of trade. And I think the landscape of the catering trade is such that people are squeezed so much that they would be just like a boat of school, and they are dispensable. And if they can keep people in this kind of trade, then there is no need for any training to be undertaken. Now, you may, well, we asked them about the OSH, the long working hours, and they would say that with lower pay, it would be okay. Well, let's move on to the other speaker. Right, the gentleman, Mr. Poon. Just one word, Chairman. We have got in touch with some hiring agencies, and we get the information that people will look at the prospect they don't just look at the wages. People don't really want to have a job in the catering trade because there is no career prospect at all. Now, their current job may be paying a wage lower than the catering trade, but they don't really want to join that kind of business because of the poor prospect.
Miss Look, the bosses in the catering industry are having great operation difficulties. What are the reasons? Let's look at it in detail. They know too well that the rental, food material costs are rising. We have to tide over difficulties together with the workers. At this particular difficult time, they should be even nicer to the employees, give them a pay rise, and they would be working happily. And then they would have the money to sort of patronize your services. If you squeeze them into a stage where they would not have any money to really patronize the catering services, then that would not be good. You can't just rely on the tourists. Are you neglecting the needs of local people and the needs of the workers who have tided over difficulties with you? If we have time, I would like to allow some time for the representatives from the catering bodies to speak. Mr. Leung Kui-tung first, and then members later. Mr. Leung. In the catering industry, we attach a lot of importance to people. If you don't pay enough, they will not come to work. If you don't provide a good working environment, they would not be working for you. I'm running a restaurant, one for over 10 years, the other for 20 years. Why are they staying? My employees are staying with us because we are providing a good system, welfare benefit system for them. And we're not bringing in the managers. We are now promoting people from within. These are the opportunities we are giving to our employees. For the dishwashers, we have to increase our pay month after month in order to get people joining us. I really don't mind about the annual review. What we are in fact doing is we are adjusting our wages according to market conditions. If you don't pay enough, people will just go and leave and quit. If you don't have a good remuneration package and good welfare benefits, they won't work for you. And for the catering industry, you have to do renovation of your shop once every 2 to 3 years, and where all these costs are involved. I've got a catering outlet in Tuen Mun, so I have to give a pay rise of say 20%. So our profits are being eroded constantly. We would not be miserly to our workers. If we are miserly to them, they would not be staying with us for long, or we might even have to close down because of this. Yes, please speak to your mic. Hong Kong's unemployment rate is now 3.3%. It means that everyone has a job. We can't hire workers is because there aren't sufficient workers on the market. So that's why we would like to import workers from overseas. Mr. Tam Kam Singh, thank you, Chairman. I hope that we can have a calm discussion, but there is something that I would like to speak about. Let's make our point after we have understood the situation thoroughly. People say that we are not being nice to our workers, but the fact is that we try to get people in, but they are not willing to work for us. there are this group of people who don't want to work for a long period because if they want, well, they would like to take on piecemeal work because it's more convenient to them. And we've got this group of people who are the intermediaries for these workers, and they are sort of getting a pay of $60 per hour. So if we can understand the situation better, then we'll be holding our discussion in a fairer manner. Now, you are talking about the pay rise lagging behind the statistics. Let me cite a real example. For the cleaning and the dishwashers, we can't even hire workers for a pay of $18,000 a month. And a colleague has said that he is raising a dishwasher's pay for twice a year. He won't be able to retain the dishwashers from, say, $10,000 to $12,000 and from $12,000 to $15,000. So actually the market is adjusting the wages on its own. It doesn't really make a lot of sense talking about a biannual review. Everything depends on the market needs. The catering industry, in the catering industry, it's mainly employs low-skilled workers, and some of them have switched to more comfortable jobs because this SMW is imposed across the board. So jobs which are more sort of nauseous and which are offering a higher pay, then that won't be a big problem. But then if the less nauseous jobs are also on offer, then people would choose the more comfortable job types. I'm very happy to hear the views of the deputations here. Our views may differ, but after the introduction of SMW, it doesn't pose a lot of adverse impact on Hong Kong's economy. In fact, it creates good impact. I would like to understand from the administration this. The catering employers said their operations are getting more difficult, and then with a $2 rise, the inflation rate is going to be jacked up. But then the MWC report says the impact will not be that great. So can the administration elaborate on the impact of inflation of this $2 rise? Now, actually, what we're seeing is that there has been an increasing number of restaurants in Hong Kong. For a rise of $2, would the situation be really like what the employers say, that there is such a serious manpower shortage? Some have even claimed that some restaurants may have to wind up. So the administration, can you tell us that what the real impact on Hong Kong's economy is? What they said true? Can you give us a clearer picture, Assistant Commissioner? Thank you, Mr. Poon, for your question. I'll be brief in my answer, then I will defer to my economist colleague to explain further. On the impact on inflation, as in the Sch.3 paper, we stated that if the rise is going to be to $30, if there is a full pass-through onto the prices of goods and services, the CCPI will increase by 0.3 to 0.4%. For the CPIA, the rise will be 0.5 to 0.6%. But then the chances of a full pass-through to the prices of goods and services are remote. So we estimate that the rise will be even less than what we mentioned. The MWC also explained in detail the impact on the inflation rate. So I would now like to defer to Ms. Lam. Anything from you to supplement, Ms. Lam? The Assistant Commissioner has also explained the impact on the inflation rate in the MW's report. There is the remarks on the impact on the various businesses on the from the $30 level, and the businesses will find the rise manageable, including the SMEs. And in the report, that some businesses may even turn their losses into profits. Around 1,200 companies may even turn their losses into profits under the new SMW level. So, in other words, sorry, it should be 1,000. Because of the rise in $30, they may suffer a loss instead of making a profit. Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. Well, thank you, the deputations, for coming to express their views. Let's be sincere in our discussions. You said that the rise in wages will pose pressure on your industry. Without the SMW, before that was introduced, would you be giving a pay rise to your workers once every year? And what would that be? What will that rise be based on? I would also put this question to the administration. The legislation says that a review will be conducted at least once every 2 years. And then you said that the MWC will be gathering frequently the various statistics, and if needed, they will invoke the mechanism to conduct a review. So you are closely monitoring the figures. So what difference does it make of an annual review or biannual review? Now, if you are going, if you embark on an annual review, you can really say that, the figures haven't changed much, and that's it. So why are you insisting on a biannual review? Say for the pay of the foreign domestic helpers, you are doing the same. You are saying that the figures haven't changed much, and you will persist with the old levels. So the same goes for SMW. Why can't you? So in that case, why can't you embark on an annual review? So who is going to want to take that question? Mr. Wu Lun. You asked how adjustment to pay rise is made in the catering industry. I've been in the industry for 32, 33 years. In the past, whenever we raised the prices of our food in the menu, we would raise the workers' wages. How frequent was that? It's difficult to say. Well, depended on the circumstances. If the economy is good, then at least twice a year. Well, if the economy was not good, then it wouldn't happen even once every year. But wouldn't you be doing it at least once every year? If we weren't able to adjust our food prices, we wouldn't be raising the pay rise. Well, for a Chinese company, it's customary to give a pay rise around the Lunar New Year. Well, I heard that before the SMW time, you would raise wages at least once every year. Now, after the many crises like the financial tsunami and the various epidemics, and the operation environment is getting more difficult for us, so we weren't able to afford pay rises.
Well, other than pay, what about rent? Does it constitute any pressure? Well, Chairman. Other than those old-style food establishments that have their own premises, it would be difficult for others. They see a rise in the rent. Would it be any better than the wages? Well, the staff costs take up 56% of our overheads. Rent about 10–20%. I'm talking about the rate of increase. Well, we enter into an agreement for a couple of years, but staff costs, we adjust the pay normally on an annual basis. Assistant Director, any comments? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Leung, for the comments. Under the law, it doesn't rule out the review cycle to be shorter than 2 years. But if we rigidly review on a yearly basis, then we have to contend with some implications. If we have an annual review cycle, then in order to control costs, the employers would shorten the work contract, and they would be more prepared to hire casual workers instead of contractor workers. And when contracts are put together, they may find it difficult to anticipate the wage bill. But I mean, what I can say is that the government will monitor the data. If the data show that it is justified, then we can conduct a review less than 2 years. Mr. Leung, Chairman, in the 90s, we were very happy in the catering trade. At the end of the year, we had a pay raise during the Lunar New Year, 5% or so. I mean, it was a practice almost every year. We were so happy at the time, but now we had SARS and the financial tsunami, and we had to consider the operating situations. But this year, the rise is more like on a very regular basis, and we're also beset by the rental problems. There are 2 restaurants that have to be closed because of the excessive overheads. With high SMW, there would be a rippling effect. We're running short of manpower, and you have to pay them right to retain them. It is getting more and more difficult to operate. So what is the rental increase? Can you tell us the rate of increase in the rent? 80%. Chairman, that's fair playing for everybody. It's not the SMW. SMW, I mean, the wage is 10% rise, but versus 80% rise in rent. I must admit that there are implications, but you have to blame the rent first, the developer first. Well, the wage bill takes up 30%, and rent would be about 15%. If anything more than that, it would be difficult. After 80% increase, what percentage? Rent with the 80% increase in rent, how much will it be as part of the overheads? 180,000 in rent. I have the turnover of $1.2 million. I mean, with this 8% rental increase, how can I survive? Mr. Look? Madam Look? If I remember correctly, there are some employers who said they can't find any workers. They are making a profit, presumably, and they're reluctant to put up the wages, and they complain about the lack of workers. A primary student will understand that this is logically flawed. Ms. Mabel Lee told us a moment ago that a whole basket of indicators would have to be taken into account. I've got no clue what indicators you have. What about the veggies in the market, the school bus fees, and so on? Don't talk to us about data. Talk to us about logic. Is it logical? They're making profits and they're not offering higher wages, and they complain about a lack of manpower. Logically flawed. Right, Mr. Martin Liao. Chairman, thank you. If I may put a question to the administration here. When we introduced the SMW from day one, we have lost the mechanism or function of automatic adjustment in the market. And this is something that we're happy to bear, but the downside is really emerging, and that is a mismatch in manpower. I mean, this is the situation I got told by the members of the public, the deputations, some of them anyway, also vouch for this fact. Every time we adjust the SMW upwards, the manpower mismatch and the failure of the automatic adjustment mechanism would fail also, unless we have a high jobless rate. Now, this is not something we'd like to see happen, of course. If I may put this to the administration, do they have any measures to address this manpower mismatch and prevent any further deterioration? Any specific measures to help the sectors that suffering in particular from this problem? Ms. Mabel Lee. Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Liao, for the question. Under the law, the MWC, when reviewing the SMW, will have to make sure that the wages are not excessively low, and we don't see a loss in jobs, and we have to maintain the competitiveness and economic development in Hong Kong. So it is the balancing act that they have to do. So when the MWC conducts a review and recommends an adjustment to the level, it has enumerated the factors, including the macroeconomic situation and also the local labor market situation. It has taken into account different trades, catering and retail and all the rest of the other sectors, and the implications on the employers, employees, and the different sectors. So the MWC did take into account the input from various sectors. Also, the MWC did conduct a consultation. 130-odd organizations have been invited to add their views regarding the implications on the SMW. A moment ago, Mr. Martin Liao made the point. In fact, he asked the question as to how the administration would assist the market in terms of manpower mismatch. Now, one of the positive implications of the SMW is that the number of workers has increased. Now, if we take the latest figures, 2012, October to December, the fourth quarter, the total workforce is $3.689 million. Before the introduction of SMW, by comparison, the number, we're talking about an increase of 140,000 people. In different sectors, we've seen an increase in the manpower. Mr. Yiu-chung, in November last year, he raised a question at the council meeting. He asked, with the introduction of SMW, the manpower mismatch problem. The secretary made a reply at the time, if I may cite that. Now, for the catering trade, there has been an increase in the number of workers in the catering trade by 2,200 people, or 1% in percentage terms. So the SMW has brought in more workers into the market. It has a positive effect. The Labour Department does offer employment service centres. We have the placement centres to help the employers to hire workers and to help the workers to find jobs. At different locations, we do organize employment fairs with a view to placing people into different jobs for different sectors. Thank you. Mr. Lau? Yes, Chairman. My question is about the manpower mismatch in certain sectors. I don't think the director can answer the question. I give up. Mr. Raymond Wong. Chairman, Mr. Lee Choi-yan said that this is a waste of time. I think this is the case. We have heard from the deputations. This SC is entertaining you. I mean, they're sending these economists from the FSO telling us all the statistics, and they're entertaining us with an assistant director and also someone from the MWC. Now we are talking about a $2 rise in SMW. I'm not terribly happy with that. I said it many times. Now we said it all during the second and reading debate at LegCo. During the resumption debate, I spent 30 minutes talking about this. I find this very helpless. Many business sector representatives said that if we went down the legislative path, there would be a lot of jobless people, and the catering trade would be crying foul. Now, 2 years on, as we can all see, have we seen all these problems anticipated? All the figures show that there have been no impacts whatsoever. Now, with this $2 increase, it's just like a begging. In many advanced countries with similar per capita income, the SMW is so much higher than that in Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada. How much are they paying in SMW? Shameful. Absolutely shameful. The business sector is defending themselves, and they are protecting themselves, and they're protecting their bottom line. Why don't you consider the rent? What about the rent? What about others? I go to the market every week. I mean, if you have $100 in your hand, what can you buy? How much does it cost to buy a catty of choy sum? What about beef? Well, I think it may be, if you're cynical, it may be better for health if you don't eat any red meat anymore. Why don't you take this into account? It's absolutely shameful to raise the SMW by $2. The Federation of Industries is really ridiculous, and they said that we reluctantly accept this. I don't accept this, but I can't do anything about it. We talked about $33 at that time. Now, this is not implemented for 3 years, so Matthew Chung is not human. We talked about an annual review, but we got defeated in the bicameral voting, and they said that the 2-year cycle means that there can be a review in less than 2 years. Is that true? Now, these will not be implemented until for 3 years. So all I can say is it can be summed up in one word: shameful. I'm just having an emotional outburst. I mean, I just like to have this recorded duly.
There is this deputation who has just arrived. I'll now give him the time. Mr. Lam Cho-ming, you have 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. To the administration, I can use only one word to describe it: cold-blooded. Why is it so cold-blooded? You allow the property prices to rise incessantly, the public utilities raising fares year after year. Why is it that there is just such a despicable rise in the SMW level? China Light and Power 11.1%, Hong Kong Electric 9.54%, KMB 5% accumulated increase, 8.8%, MTR 7.7%, and with accumulated inflation rate 10%, and then SMW only 7.1%. It can't even catch up with the inflation rate in the past 2 years. You are allowing the big business groups and the public utilities to earn to the maximum level, and aren't you being cold-blooded but by just proposing such a marginal or meager increase to the SMW? The business sector, the Liberal Party, they are so unscrupulous. They are claiming that the SMW will jack up inflation rate, and it seems that the SMW is the main cause for the inflation rate. Have you considered the rental? Don't you know anything about economics? Why aren't you including the electricity tariff, the foreign exchange, the rental, and so on? Why don't you protest to the reader when there is a rental rise? Why have you fasted outside CLP when electricity tariffs go up, and you are blaming the inflation on the workers, their wages? So I'll give you this proposal. The high foreign exchange in terms of renminbi, you can actually go to the HKMA to protest against the linking, the pegging of the Hong Kong dollar to the US dollar, and then you can go to Western District to protest against the UK government pushing up the inflation rate and doing harm to Hong Kong's stability and prosperity. I hope that the businessmen can have a good conscience, and you don't point your finger at the workers and you blame us for everything. We're just proposing a very meager $2 rise. It's just a 7.1%. It doesn't catch up with the rise in rental. This gentleman just next to me said that there was a rise in rental of 8%. So our Labour Department proposes that the SMWB should be fixed at $35 and that there should be an annual review, and it should be done as soon as possible. Mr. Yu Si-wing, in the first round of questions. Thank you, Chairman. After the SMW has been implemented for 2 years, it doesn't only address the problems faced by the grassroots workers. It also has an impact on the society as a whole. I have asked Mr. Matthew Cheung, have they got a figure on the manpower wastage in certain sectors? The various sectors are all well linked in different in the society, and then if there is a manpower shortage in some sectors, and that is not good for the society as a whole. There is a great wastage in private homes for the elderly, and then construction industry isn't able to find enough manpower. So I hope the secretary can come up with some statistics. And Mr. Martin Liao talked about an unbalanced situation and mismatch in manpower. So has the administration considered coming up with measures on addressing the problems brought about by the SMW? Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your question. When it comes to statistics, we've got various statistics on manpower in different sectors, employment situation. We are announcing such statistics on a monthly basis, and the government will be closely monitoring the impact of the SMW on various sectors and trades. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Yu, I don't think your answer is sufficient. Can you come up with statistics on the original manpower in a certain sector, like the residential homes for the elderly, and what is the manpower wastage? And for other industries, like the construction industry, is growing. It's a growing industry. What is the job vacancy level? And if we can put all these statistics together, and we can think about them, and we just shouldn't wait and do nothing. And if we aren't compiling such statistics, should we start doing such a data analysis and propose solutions? And then we can think about whether to import labor. We shouldn't shy away from these questions or dodge the issue. I think the government should be thinking about what I suggested. Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your comment. I don't have anything to add. So we finished with the first round of questions. The second round, Mr. Kwok Wai Kang, you've raised your hand. Mr. Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. Employers and employees' views have been well expressed. I've got this impression that the labor insurance costs are rising, rental are rising, and the rises are significant. It seems that the employers can do nothing about this. But then why are they making so much noise about workers' pay? Because the workers are a group which they can bully. So this is something that we should pay attention to. Why is it that the businesses are still managing to survive? It's because the workers they are submissive, and it's only by raising the SMW would you be able to still survive with your business. Now, in the FSO, Ms. Lam said that after the SMW, some 1,000 companies will incur a loss instead of a profit. Now, for every worker, then he may get a pay rise of around $500. And if you are a small-sized company, you've got 10 workers, and that means that you have to get an increase of $5,000 in your wage bill, and then you got an additional rise in a wage bill of $50,000. I don't think that a company wouldn't be making a profit in $50,000. $50,000 per year is just as much, such a small amount. And I don't see why 1,000 companies will be incurring a loss instead of a profit. If we are talking about Chinese restaurants, which is big scale, they may have to pay extra in their wage bill for $50,000 per year, and I don't find that the calculation reasonable. In the MWC report, we've got a detailed calculations on the profits and losses of companies, and the changes and the pressure on companies. Now, all the statistics have been listed in the report. That was based on the CNSD figures on profits and loss compiled by the CNS department in 2010. We see that before SMW, the SMEs are earning a low profits, were earning a low profits. And if there is SMW, there would be greater pressure on their profit levels. Well, thank you, Ms. Lam. Actually, I've worked in SMEs. I know that the boss may earn a salary too, and then any additional profits will be pocketed separately. In the Manpower Services panel, Mr. Matthew Chung proposed a scientific figure. Now, in the inflation rate in the past year, 70% of them stemmed from rising rental. Mr. Zhang was very clear on that point. If, say, a price rise of $10 is on a certain item, then $7 comes from rising rental. Now, only 50 cents come from the rise in SMW. How can you convince that this additional rise of 50 cents will drive you out of business? Because you can't do much about the rental, so you are bullying the workers. Now, if you were given a choice of a minimum rental or minimum wage, which one would you choose? Or a maximum rent or a maximum wage, which option would you choose? We are focusing on minimum wage today. So we just shouldn't be circumventing other issues and just focus on SMW. Now, in the insurance sector, we've been discussing with the insurance sector the same question. We have to reflect that we would take various improvement measures in face of difficulties. For some hypothetical questions, I don't think there is a need to answer them. Within the industry, if 20 new catering enterprises are established every year, not more than 5 will be able to survive within 3 years. For those 5 surviving catering restaurants, you're posing a lot of hypothetical questions to them. But what about the 25 which can't survive? And wouldn't you be putting questions to them as well? So let's not pinpoint on a certain point. And for a business, we have to look at the entire account. And we shouldn't just go through item by item. We have to look at the overall accounts. If we can't make a profit, we wouldn't be able to give you a pay rise. But if we are really making a profit, we will share the success with the workers, definitely. Dr. Yiu-chung. Thank you, Chairman. We've heard Deputations' views for over an hour, and a lot of employers were saying that they find it very difficult to run their business, and some employees said that the $2 rise is a small rise only. The employers are not focusing so much on the $2, but that there there are rising costs on other fronts, so they would just like to keep the pay rise as low as possible. We've received requests from people asking us to negotiate with landlord on their behalf to see whether the rental rise can be minimized. I understand that the business environment is difficult, and what I sense is that a bigger problem they face is a manpower shortage. So would the Labour Department really pay attention to this particular issue? In the catering industry and the security services industry, it is anticipated that there will be a shortage of 7,000 people, and in construction industry, a shortage of 30,000 workers. This is something that we have to face squarely.
Well, the DAB is concerned that with this $2 increase in pay, aggravated difficulties, that you're accusing the employers of being unscrupulous, but many operators don't want to close the business after being there for so long, and there are some nice employers who are continuing with the business despite incurring a loss. We feel that under these circumstances, there are those who are finding it so difficult to operate, and there are some problems with the self-employed, the part-time workers. We've seen a rise in the number of part-time workers, and also the 4118, a continuous contract of employment, and some workers will lose their protection, as the self-employed would find it very difficult to cope if they sustain any injuries at work. Now, this is something the DAB is concerned about. Now, turning now to the review mechanism, annual cycle or biannual cycle or 6-month cycle, it doesn't really matter. I think that the key thing is to have a clearly defined mechanism. From Mr. Matthew Chung, he said that it would be a 2-year review cycle, and where necessary, it can be less than 2 years. What do you mean by where necessary? Is it inflation, or is it the growth in the joblessness, or what? I mean, where necessary, I mean, it's not clearly defined. I think the mechanism has to be clearly defined. There should be a warning sign. We should not be pursuing the administration for a review as long as the administration has or deems that the situation is at such a stage that it would warrant a review, then they should conduct a review. I hope that this can be considered. All right. Who would like to comment? Assistant Director, care to comment? Mr. Raymond Wong, round 2. I heard from this lady sitting next to me. She prompted me to say something. Well, she said that the $2 increase might impose some burden on the employers. Chairman, you used to be the FTU chair. We have the FTU members here. Nobody understands the situation about the workers than you. What is the position of the DAB? In the submission, there are 3 points. Ms. N. Chung cited all these points. I'm not sure whether she understands the whole thing. Now, we are always talking about these pseudo self-employed people. With the SMW introduced, people are resorting to converting the workers into self-employed people. I think that this is something that the government should be considering. Why is it that Ms. Yiu-chung emphasizes the difficulties of the businesses? What position is the DAB adopting? The DAB is trying to target at different sectors of the community. The business sector, the labor sector, you're serving so many different masters. Maybe Ms. Yiu-chung is serving the tycoons, the well-off, the rich people. Are you representing the interests of the grassroots? I find it wholly bewildered. In particular, Mr. Chairman, you've been in the labor movement for decades. $28, would you find it acceptable? I don't think you would, Chairman. Personally, I don't think you find it acceptable. But your party suggests a review of the continuous contract of employment, the fake self-employed, and so on. This is very constructive. But Ms. Yiu-chung is speaking out of the script. Why is she speaking outside of the script? I mean, I find it very, very surprising to hear what Ms. Chung had to say. Does the DAB adopt any position in this regard? We don't talk about politics, but when it comes to labor matters, we don't differ massively from other members, FTU, FLU, the Labour Party, and the Civic Party, and so on. I think we ought to strike a sensible balance here. I mean, this is something that I was prompted to say, but the lady sitting next to me has raised her hand. Let's have a listen to what she said. All right, we have to be respecting one another. Ms. Yiu-chung, I don't really want to engage Mr. Wong in a debate like this. Otherwise, he will be doing something on the web. Now, we respect the decision of the LAB regarding the decision to put up the SMW from $28 to $30. Mr. Kwok Wai-kang, round number 3. Well, a moment ago we talked a lot about the SMW. Very simply, we should have an annual review cycle. If I may turn now to the importation of labor, the jobless rate is 3 point-something percent. There are still workers in the market. We have to give top priority to the local workers first. If they want to hire people, they have to train up the local people. In my school days, I appreciated a lot of large conglomerates training up their own people, but these days they're relying on the administration to train up the people for them. Mr. Tommy Chung, from the catering trade, he said that if we cannot hire the right people, we should put up the wages. Now they're paying more than the SMW. Now, if one of these days you cannot hire someone unless you pay $100. Now, right now it is $28, and by putting up it up to $30, and you cannot hire the right people, and you would like to bring in labor from outside, I don't think that makes sense. I hope that you would appreciate the workers locally more. Mr. Raymond Wong made the point. I appreciate that Mr. Wong noticed these problems of fake self-employed people. If the catering trade finds it difficult to hire people, I hope that you would try and understand the problems plaguing the trade. The pseudo self-employed status is not because of the SMW. It is because you try to circumvent the 411A, the continuous contract of employment. In North Point, there is a restaurant that has been folded. 100 or so workers came along to us. Half of them were converted into a status where they had to register themselves with a friend's ID card, and then they would not be fulfilling the continuous contract of employment, and they lose all their LSP and the severance payment. It would be very difficult for them to hire the loyal workers. Now these workers from these folded restaurant, they go to other restaurants, and they're working as casual workers, enjoying no protection under the law, but they're working on a daily basis, and they get paid on a daily basis. If you do not reform all this, it will be very difficult for you to hire the right people. And also the broken shift, 5 hours in the day, five hours in the evening, and all day long you work 13 hours. To attract the right people, you have to offer them a good enough working environment. These malpractices should not be here to stay. I mean, if you want to work, if you don't want to work at broken shifts, you're not welcome here. If you don't want to be exploited, then we don't want you. Security business is so attractive not because it's comfortable, but because the security companies do have to be subject to a licensing system, and they cannot do a runner. They cannot not pay the workers. That's why it's so attractive. I hope that you would do a bit of soul searching and see whether you would be able to fulfill all these conditions. No importation of labor. All right, I think we have broadened out the discussion quite a bit. Make it brief, please. There are 3 more members here. Mr. Wong, will you speak to the subject? Well, whether we can attract workers, our company has been hiring workers, and we're not working for 4118, maybe 3118 or 2118. Now, if they find that the pay is not good enough and they may go, they're free to go. Now, for night shift on the 6th of January, we haven't seen any hiring exercise. Now, during the Lunar New Year, the whole of China will be calling through on the hotline who will be working. I mean, only the 100 or so contract workers would be holding the fort, and we'll be working flat out. Chairman. This catering association member said that even with $18,000, they cannot hire any cleaners or dishwashers. The Labor Department should offer them some assistance. The FTU should clarify with them. Well, I think that if this is the deal, then I'm sure that the queue will be lengthening all the way to the Taiwan cemetery. Well, this is not fabricated. We advertise in the newspaper for this job, offering $18,000, still cannot hire anybody. Well, the cleaners are getting paid $7,500 per month. If this is on offer, please let us know. Mr. Leung, if I may add, Chairman, the long service payment, the 5%, is continuous. Now, I said that one restaurant is being closed because in Sch.3, all these pharmacies selling infant formula and so on, they are pushing up the rents. 30% of the overheads go to staff cost. Now, this is going up on an annual basis. You have no option but to raise the wages. Rent takes up about 11%. that you are applying your full mind to the job, and you need to offer the right money to hire the right people. Otherwise, they will be leaving. Thank you. All right, I'm sure that you have all exhausted all your concerns and comments. My thanks to all of you for being with us and airing your views regarding this SM. Please stay and let's deal with the notices as well.
Well, so that we would not have to convene another meeting next Tuesday. Let's turn to the papers. Is Minimum Wage Ordinance Amendment of Schedule 3, Notice 2012. Do you have this paper? If not, then the clerk can help distribute it to members. If yes, then we will go through the articles one by one. And we'll look at the Chinese version first, and if there is any problem with the English version, then the legal advisor can advise us. The content is rather simple in this notice. There are 3 articles. The first one is on commencement. This notice comes into operation on 1st of May 2013. Second, Article 2 is Minimum Wage Ordinance amended. The currently hourly wage rate specified in Schedule 3 to the Minimum Wage Ordinance Cap 608 is increased, and the effective date of the increase is specified by amending that schedule as set out in Section 3. Article 3, Schedule 3 amended, prescribed minimum hourly wage rate. Bracket 1, Schedule 3, Column 2, repeal. The day on which Section 9 comes into operation, substitute it with 1st of May 2011. At the bracket 2, at the end of Schedule 3 at $30. 1st of May 2013. Any questions, members? No? This is rather technical. There is also an explanatory note, and it introduces the amendment primarily from $28 to $30. Any questions? If not, well, the legal advisor, any particular point to note in the English version? Okay, and that's it. Another notice is Employment Ordinance, Amendment of 9th Schedule, Notice 2012. There are also 3 articles. First, commencement. This notice comes into operation on the day on which the Minimum Wage Ordinance Amendment of Schedule 3, Notice 2012, comes into operation. Article 2, Employment Ordinance amended. The Employment Ordinance Cap 57 is amended as set out in Section 3. Article 3, 9th Schedule amended. Monetary cap on keeping records of hours worked. 9th Schedule, repeal. $11,500, substitute $12,300, and that's really an adjustment according to the relevant proportion. And then there is an explanatory note. Any questions from members? If not, then any comments from the legal advisor in the Chinese and English versions? No particular comment. So we've examined the content of these 2 notices. If members don't have any questions, then the examination is completed. The vetting deadline is the 6th of February 2013. If amendment is to be made to these subsidiary legislation, that should be done by the 30th of January 2013. So we've got 5 whole days. I will, on behalf of you, submit a report to the House Committee on the 25th of January. If you have any amendments, please submit it before the 30th of January. Clerk, anything to add from you? If not, then the work of this subcommittee is completed. Yes. So we'll go back to the council sitting in early February. Can the clerk inform us of the details? Yes, this is a negative voting process. Now, if there is no amendment, then there will not be any debate on the full council sitting on the 6th of February. But if you want to speak on this subsidiary legislation under the existing mechanism, the House Committee Chairman can submit a report on subsidiary legislation, and the members, when noting the report, can ask to speak the particular piece of subsidiary legislation. Because we have this subcommittee to vet these two pieces of subsidiary legislation. According to the existing mechanism, we would, on behalf of the subcommittee, notify that the full council that the members may speak on the council meeting on the 6th of February. If members wish to speak on these two pieces of notices, then they're allowed to do so. On that day, and you don't have to pre-register. You can just speak at the sitting, and the time limit is 15 minutes when you speak. You can do that, and at the council meeting, I would also, on behalf of this subcommittee, make some remarks. If members have no other questions.